car trivia you didn't ask for, but you're gonna get anyway. You're welcome! Today with me is a gorgeous, stunning car from one of my favorite brands. This is the Mercedes W206 C200. This is the AMG line, and you can tell from the grille. You see, standard Mercedes models usually just have the two louvers with the star in the middle, but an AMG line package gives you this diamond kind of starry design grille, and then the AMG grille is the one with the vertical lines. So now you know. Now here's the difference. An AMG line Mercedes is basically cosmetic upgrades that make the car look sportier. But a real AMG model has two numbers instead of three, so a C200 is not an AMG, it just has an AMG line package. But a C63 has a real performance engine. Let's get into the car. You see, from the front, I actually think it looks a little bit basic, like it looks a little bit bare, like there could be something more to it. I'm wishing for more detail, more character, more personality, but I still think it looks great. I think Mercedes knows how to make really good looking cars, and that's just the truth. Here you've got these headlights that kind of remind me of a shark. They kind of look sharky, especially on the A-Class, but the C-Class is also copying that. And then you'll see a little bit of inspiration that comes from the S-Class as well, because even the C-Class, which is supposed to be sort of the entry into the brand, just like the A-Class is, it does look quite executive. It does look really pristine, really elegant, really luxurious. And that's one thing that Mercedes as a brand and as a company have stayed true to with regards to their ethos: elegance, luxury, and confidence. I genuinely think, from driving this car for the last 4 or 5 days, that the C stands for confidence, and I'll tell you why. Do you guys see this disrespect? It's after 3, and this is when they're choosing to fly. Could have flown the whole day, but when I decide to start filming, they want to fly over. Wait, I think that's an ambulance helicopter. Never mind. You can see also from the front of the car that the AMG line package does really make it look a bit more sporty, a bit more aggressive. You've got this bumper here right at the bottom with the black accents and a little bit of chrome. But there's one thing that I have noticed actually from the front of this car, that the chrome doesn't necessarily make it look cheap. I don't know how they've done that, because it looks more silver than chrome, but I actually think it looks good. And the other thing, there's been a whole lot of talk in the car community about how Mercedes has sort of been going in a different direction from what we are used to, particularly with the W205. I understand. I think that the W204 is one of the most iconic Mercedes to ever have been made, but the W205 really sort of brought down that excitement that we all had after the W204. Also, not to mention that they stopped the V8s and the C63, so that's not great. But I think this W206 is sort of redirecting Merc to their former glory. There's a lot that I love about it. There's some things that I don't really like about it, and I'll tell you everything. But let's go to the side profile. I am worried it's going to start raining, and I really hope it doesn't, because I really want to make this video for you guys. The side profile of the C-Class is where the executiveness really starts to pop out, I think. It just looks so elegant and so luxurious in a way. It just looks so luxurious and so elegant in a way that a lot of brands are still trying to do. I really particularly love these multi-spoke alloy wheels. These are 19 inches, so she's riding on 19-inch wheels throughout. There's a little bit of chrome on the doors as well, so it's sort of two tones. There's chrome on the top and there's white on the bottom, because this is white, so I guess it's body colored. It's not a coupe, so it doesn't have the coupe shape, and I think it still looks really good. One thing that I do appreciate about the C-Class is that it's one of those sedans that still maintain practicality. It's not as long as the E-Class or the S-Class, and it's not as small as the A-Class. It's sort of hitting a really nice sweet spot. And when I say the A-Class, in this instance, I'm actually referring to the A-Class sedan, which I don't see a lot on the road. By the way, if anyone wants to get me a birthday gift, please buy me an A45S AMG. Okay, love you. And one thing that the AMG line package also adds are these side skirts. So these are really good for aerodynamics to make the car look sportier and fancier and a lot more expensive. Now looking at the rear design here, I do think it looks quite good. I can see the A-Class in these taillights. I can also sort of see the E-Class, but I do like this longer design. I prefer it to the W205. I think this looks really good. It also looks like kind of an ode to the CLA and the CLE with this longer taillight design. It looks really good. It's split here by the Easy Lift tailgate. The Mercedes logo is here in the middle and the C200 badge is here. I just don't know if you can actually ask for them to put the AMG badge if you have an AMG line, because if you have a real AMG like a C63, then the AMG badge would be there. But I have seen a lot of AMG line models that have the AMG badge. Do they do it aftermarket? Let me know in the comments. This gorgeous booty gives you access to 455 liters of boot space when you have all the seats up, and when you fold the rear seats, you actually get 1,335 liters of boot space. You've got buttons here in the back that allow you to fold those seats so you don't actually have to do it manually. And I appreciate that, because that's Mercedes saying, we did say we're a luxury brand, here's some luxury. This thunder in the background, guys, I'm not going to stop recording because of the thunder, but if it starts raining heavy, then we have a problem. Okay. Now we're inside the C200, and I always love being in a Mercedes. You can feel the refinement, you can feel the quality, you can feel the build quality, especially in this W206, because the previous generation had a few issues with regards to build quality, but now we're sort of getting back on track, and I really do love that for Mercedes, because I don't want to hear people saying anything about things that can be easily changed. Now, this particular model is the AMG line, and that's important to remember, because I actually think that this is where you really feel the Mercedes-ness of the car. One thing I genuinely believe is that you will hardly regret buying a car from certain brands. Particularly, I would say Mercedes, BYD, Lexus, Volvo. I genuinely think that you will still feel the commitment to quality, the commitment to safety, the commitment to refinement in cars like that. Once in a while there will be a miss, but for the most part you will get the value for your money. Now, the Mercedes C200 is starting off at around 800,000 Rand with recent price cuts, but I do think that it is worth getting the options package. There's a different conversation to be had about the difference between legacy brands having very high value options packages that come at a very high cost, as compared to the newcomers from the East who are giving us these cars at half the price with all the options. You see, if you want a Mercedes, go and buy a Mercedes. If you're happy to buy the newcomers, go and buy the newcomers. You see, I always think that you should go for the car that you want to buy. And if you feel that your wallet is not going to be able to take on the burden of a 1 million Rand car, then go for the cheaper car. The most important thing is that when you're sitting in the driver's seat, you're happy with your decision. Okay? Now let's talk about this particular car. I think it is worth getting the options package. Why? Because number one, if you get the standard model, this carbon fiber that you've got all around here is my worst enemy, piano black. And we know what happens to piano black. Number one, in a car like this, the worst thing possible is that it creaks. You press on it like what you've got on the doors here. You can feel it creaking, and that's not good in a luxury car. You don't want that. So I think it's worth getting the carbon fiber extra, and also it feels more like a petrol head's car. If you are a petrol head, it feels better, it feels sportier. I genuinely like it. Piano black is just, it's that enemy that used to be a friend. It did its job, it now needs to go, because then it will start to scratch, it will start to smudge, and you don't want that, especially if it's all around here. That's not good. So I really do appreciate the carbon fiber. You've also got these almost round air vents here that are giving very much G-class. So I appreciate this touch of class. It's absolutely stunning. This screen is controversial because some people love it, some people hate it. I don't mind it. What I really appreciate about it is that it's very easy for me to see everything. What I don't like about it is the fact that there are no physical controls for the AC. I do not like that in any car anywhere. That's just a no for me, because it really lowers how I feel when I drive the car, because now I have to avert my gaze to look at the screen. So that's always something, and I have said that before. I really do like the feeling of the dash. We've got leather on the dash, we've got stitching on the dash, and you know I love stitching on the dash. It is beautiful, and you can actually see the smallness of this car just when you're looking at the dash, and I think that's kind of cute actually. You have this panoramic sunroof that comes with your options package, and you have these gorgeous leather seats with these are sort of bucket seats, so they do hug you, and this red is just absolutely stunning. I'm loving it. It's giving very much sporty. The only thing is that if I were to spec this car, I wouldn't have spec'd it in white. I would probably have done black, because there would be a bit more congruence with the interior, because it looks kind of normal outside. It just looks like a car. Maybe it's the white, and then if you spec it maybe in black, then it's starting to give a bit more mystery. It's giving a bit more sportiness, a bit more try me and I will outrun you. So there's that, but that's okay. I do like it. You still have this usual Mercedes center console with the double doors here in the middle. I've got a box of grapes in here from my road trip, so that's fantastic. Here in front of me, I've got the new generation AMG multifunction steering wheel. I love a flat bottom, because I feel like I can relate to it for obvious reasons. But the only thing I don't like is the piano black on the buttons, because I'm gonna be touching it, and this is already smudged, so that's not great. Just this circular bit in the middle, I love it because it's precise. You just have to slam on it if someone's acting like an idiot on the road. Like today, as I was driving back, some Ford Ranger wanted to come right in front of me, like just 5 meters in front of me. We're going 120, and I slammed on that thing. Like, don't you dare try me. You want me to go explain to Natalie what happened to her car? Sir, not in this life. Okay. I've also got a screen for my instrument cluster. It's also controversial, but I don't mind it at all. I think it looks fine. I really always like when the screen, especially if you're going to use the screen for the driver's display, I appreciate when it's not jutting out of the dashboard and it's sort of in there. It's almost part of the dash. I like that better because it makes me feel less like I've got too many screens in here and more like I've just got a digital driver's display. So there's that. But other than that, I do really like sitting in this seat. The seats themselves are very comfortable. I'm gonna tell you guys.
Hold up, I'm just gonna scooch in here if you don't mind. This next rant is about the seat controls not being on the door, but actually being on the usual place for most other brands that are not Mercedes, and that is on the side of the seat right at the bottom. And that's actually because it is a 15,200 Rand option. I personally always associated the door-mounted controls with Mercedes, so this is coming as a bit of a downer for me. And because most of us associated them with Mercedes, perhaps the deeper question to ask is whether it is worth it from a brand perception versus cost-cutting standpoint. Let's have a think about that.
My first time in a modern Mercedes was in that ML that facelifted into the GLE, so it was a GLE, so post facelift. Sort of first generation GLE, third generation ML, if that makes sense. It was my boss's car, and I sat in the passenger seat and I was sitting very low. So I wanted to obviously lift up my seat. Bear in mind at that time I was driving a Toyota Avensis, so I'm used to, the manual way of doing things. I'm used to hard labor at that point. So I'm looking like, how do I scooch my seat forward? And then I see on the side of the door there were the seat controls, and I was like, wow. Like I was enamored by that. It was so charming, so luxurious, so elegant, and I was like, this is a Mercedes. I want one of these. To this day, that GLE I always turn my head when I see that car. Not only is it stunning, but it was almost like the pinnacle of Mercedes design. The second thing that's bothering me about this panel, apart from the piano black, is that it now looks empty without that. You know, it looks empty without those seat controls. So to some degree, it looks useless. So we could do with without all of this piano black, just keep the door handles, keep the seat controls, and then this seat heating button could even go on the panel that's on the door there, and then you're good. Or you put it somewhere in the middle. You can even put that on the screen, because this is not an important control to have, especially like in this side of the world. But I guess if you're coming from Germany, it's really, really cold there, then you need to heat your seat quickly. But this panel looks really empty without our beloved Mercedes controls. So may this be the last time we have this, and then we put those seat controls back, because I love those things. I will never get over that. But anyway, as I am sitting here in this driver's seat, I genuinely do feel like I'm sitting in a Mercedes. I love sitting in the cabin of a Mercedes. I love driving a Mercedes. And there's just, if you're thinking of buying this car, just go test drive it and see how it feels for you, because all I can do is explain to you how I feel. I love it, except for the piano black, but I love it. Okay, and get the options package, the AMG line. Okay, love you, bye. Let's go to the back. As I'm sitting in the back of the C200, I don't actually really feel that I'm in a subcompact sedan, maybe except when I enter, because this is pretty low that even I had to sort of scoot my head in. But I have more than enough headroom, I have more than enough leg room, so you can actually use this as a family car, and it's very, very comfortable. The headrests in the back are adjustable, so that's great. The seats are comfortable. You've got this space in the back for your important documents, and you've got air vents in the back. What you don't have though is rear seat charging, so that's not great. But there's a little notch here to put a bag, or you can hang your dry cleaning there. You've got your handles. Ugh. Wow, I'm watching you. Yeah. Okay, they're great. They're sturdy. They can hold a lot of weight. You also have a light there and another notch for your dry cleaning. But all in all, as I'm sitting here in the back, I say all in all a lot, don't I? In conclusion, when I'm sitting in the back, I feel good. I feel fine. So this is one of those cars that I think it's nicer to drive. You're not uncomfortable back here. You're very comfortable. You'll be very happy. But it's a nice car to drive. It's definitely a nice car to drive. If you're looking for a car to be chauffeured in, then an S-Class is definitely the way to go. Although that's like a lot more expensive, but that don't matter. You guys are rich. No? Chilling under the hood of the C200's bonnet is Mercedes' 1.5-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. It gives you 150 kilowatts, 300 newton meters. But those numbers may sound okay-ish, but this really is the star of the show. The engine and the gearbox. It's in how this car drives that you feel everything that Mercedes had to offer in the C-Class. That's not the AMG. And because I loved driving this car, I somehow found myself unable to just drive around the block for our driving segment, and I drove all the way to Dalstrom in Mpumalanga. This is a place I've been dying to visit since the Lexus GX550 review, and I finally got to do that sort of on a whim this time. One thing I am so grateful for when it comes to cars and experiencing them is that I do not only respect performance cars, I respect the engineering that goes into a standard but premium car like this C200, budget cars like a Tata Tiago, or top spec cars like a 911 GT3 RS. They all tell a story. They all have a voice of their own. But for this episode of Pissing Me Off, I was just loving being in the driver's seat of the C200, so I decided to milk it, baby. So here's the short bit about my trip to this gorgeous part of the country that just made me feel so lucky to have been born onto this continent. And from there, we'll talk about my driving impressions. Oh my gosh, guys. We made it. I was so anxious about driving such an expensive car or such a long distance, but you know me, I'm always anxious about that. But anyway, I've arrived at my hotel and it's beautiful. It's very naturey, so I'm hoping there's not too much nature so that fucking animal does not come at me. But I am very close to reception. I think I'm kind of close to reception. I just really want to see what my parking situation is going to look like so I can get some nice shots. You know, I always think that I want to do like a cabin stay, but I'm not a cabin girly because that's too much nature for me. But then the pictures would look fire. You know, like the pictures with the car in front of the cabin, it's giving, but I'm too much of a scaredy cat. Well, clearly not, because I drove 3 hours by myself in a Mercedes. We did it. Okay, let me go check out my room. We made it. Time for a room tour. Here's the bed. Look at this artwork. I really like that wallpaper. It's giving the room so much character. The TV's way up there. And there's me. And this is the bathroom. I can take my weekly bath right there. And there's me again. And me again. And me again. Oh, and there's mommy's right there. The throne. So let's see. Foam bath. Nice. This doesn't look very clean. There's a strand of hair right there. It's disgusting. But the shower is not bad at all. I quite like it. I quite like it. Love you, bye. So I'm on my way to get dinner. I could have driven down here, but I figured I might as well just enjoy this beautiful place. That kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies, but it's fine. I thought of ordering in, but I just bit myself. Ow. But they'll charge you like an extra 100 rand just to bring it to your room. Do you know what I can buy with 100 rand? What can I buy with 100 rand? How stunning. Oh. Look at the view from my room. I'm gonna go horse riding, so I'm gonna leave the Merc to watch the lake. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Not going in the shower. Want to take a country.
That's true. The horses are not rough, right? Okay. Thank you. What's your name?
Shower.
Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. Dalstrom. I'd never been here before. Okay. I can see the zebras there. So he needs to be able to stay focused.
From here.
Oh. Okay. I am back from the horse riding. I had to get myself some coffee, but this time I got a coffee milkshake because it's not that hot, but I just wanted something different, and the last time I had a coffee milkshake I really liked it. But I did find like the property is really beautiful and everything, but I don't think I want to do horse riding again because I just felt so bad for the horse, you know? Like imagine having to carry a fat ass human for like 30 minutes. I took the 30-minute ride option. There was an hour ride option and I just thought I'd get bored, and 30 minutes was like the perfect length of time, so I just did 30 minutes and we rode around the property. But I just felt so bad for him because like he just has to imagine like hauling a fat ass human all over the property for like 30 minutes. You wouldn't be able to do that. It just made me feel bad. And I know like back in the day horse riding was the thing because ain't no Mercedes back then, but then I don't know, it makes me feel bad, so it's not really something I'd want to do again. I think we also went through like the fields. There were parts with like lots of long grass, and I was just kind of paranoid that we would see the animal, but it was very beautiful. It's very beautiful. Now I'm gonna drive back to Joburg. I am so happy that I drove the Mercedes C200 all the way to Dalstrom, because when you're in a car like this, you want to drive it for as long as possible. You want to drive it as much as possible, and like that's like, it's such a vibe. It's such a vibe. I really love cars with personality, and gosh, I've really enjoyed this car. So now we are going to talk about my driving experience, my driving impressions. We're going to do the whole shebang. But first, let me try and connect my phone to CarPlay and see if I can record from there, because I obviously prefer to record from my phone. Guys, let me just tell you, the iPhone 17 Pro Max is it's so good. Like, I'm so glad I made the upgrade. If you're thinking about upgrading your phone to that, especially if you're a creator, I feel like if you're not a creator, if you don't use it to film stuff, then it's not really important. But obviously, like, it's your money, you do what you feel like doing. But if you're a creator and you like filming on your phone, I'm telling you, like, I love it. I love it so much. The front camera, the back camera. When I film, like, people often ask me what I use to film. I'm like, I'm filming on my phone. Granted, yeah, this is the latest one, so it's going to be good. But like, this is good on another level. And I just love that. Wow, this girl has nice boobs. And I just love that the front camera is so good, because it increases my options of what to film with. Now let's talk about what it's like to drive the C-Class. And I'm not gonna lie, as the first car I have had in 2026, I am absolutely loving it. I feel like this is a great start to the year, and this must set the tone for the year, you know, car-wise, life-wise, everything. There is just something so refined about a Mercedes, and I'll tell you, they are very, very anal about the way they build their cars, and they are very particular about making them feel refined, feel luxurious. Mercedes has more focus towards elegance and luxury with a sporty element to it. Whereas if you want to compare it to BMW is more sporty, and then they try to bring in luxurious elements to their cars, right? And in both aspects, they're expensive to build, hence, you know, the high price tag. But let's talk about the C-Class. Mercedes makes sure that in every aspect of driving your car, you feel the refinement to it. Please don't mind this. This is the magnet for my POV camera, basically. So I'll give you an example. Accelerating, pressing on the throttle or pressing on the gas, right? It doesn't jerk forward. Even in comfort mode, in eco mode, it's less responsive, but it doesn't jerk you forward because it's been built to feel like that. Second example, the braking. And this is legitimately one of my favorite parts about driving a Mercedes. I'll show you. Right now, unfortunately, I can't show you from the outside, but you can always see when someone is jerked forward by brakes. So we're going 85 k's an hour, and I'm going to slam on the brakes. Not too hard, but it's not that feeling of it first doesn't respond and then it responds and jerks you forward. You see that I hardly jerked. We'll go again. Right now we are going 90 k's an hour. Slam on the brakes. That was the only jerk I did. Did you see that? And that's the Mercedes difference. I made a video where I spoke about how ABS works with EBD. EBD means electronic brake force distribution. So basically, when you stop your car, it doesn't send equal braking force to all four wheels, because that's actually rather unsafe. So it needs to send more braking force to the front wheels than it does to the back, because your car is essentially almost gonna flip like that, but it's not going to, obviously. But especially in a Mercedes, that refinement really comes into play, and you start to see it because the braking is gradual, it is smooth, it does not make you feel like you're braking on a bicycle. Like, it's so brilliant, it's so smooth, it's soft, it does exactly what it needs you to do. It does exactly what you need it to do, and it will just brake and stop comfortably and extremely confidently. Like, I love it. I hope what I've just said makes sense, because at this present time, because I'm driving this car and I can feel it, I'm just in awe. I just always love driving a Mercedes because of that. And it also makes you feel that much safer, you know, when you're driving like that. When you're driving a car like that, it makes you feel that much safer, because you know it's going to brake in the most confident way possible. You know it's going to brake smoothly. It's not even going to spill your drinks. I had hot coffee in here yesterday, and you know when I spilled it? When I was setting the cooler bag down outside of the car, not even in here, and I drove for 3 hours. No spills, nothing. Like, it's just such a beautiful, brilliant stop. I do not understand why you would rush to overtake me and then start driving 60 in front of me. Like, make that make sense. I actually moved to the side for these guys. But anyway, the third place where you can feel the refinement of this car is when it corners. Anyone can be fast in a straight line, but if you can be fast and stable in a corner, then you're really onto something. And that's what I feel with this Mercedes. It is very tidy, it is precise, it is neat. Woo! I threw this thing in a corner and it just went. Doesn't even ask you questions. It's not, ma'am, are you sure this is a... We're going. You said that's what you want to do. That's what we're going to do. And that's what it did. It's not like, you see, one thing I really would like, especially people who watch my content, one thing I would really love to emphasize is that when we are comparing cars, it's easy to say this car is better than that car. It's easy to say Audi is better than BMW, BMW is better than Mercedes, Mercedes is better than Audi, whatever. It's easy to say that because you've heard one or two things from someone saying that this car does this better than that. So for example, when you throw a BMW into a corner, it would throw its back out quite easily. And Audi often has like a lot of understeer. You can hear that understeer squealing, that happens a bit, but you obviously have to, at that point it becomes a skill issue as well, because quattro is like really good. Mercedes though is like, it's very precise turning, very, very precise, very tidy, very neat. And imagine I am this happy with a C200. It's not an AMG, it's not a C63, it's a C200. And they have built it so well to drive so well in such a refined manner. So I am so incredibly impressed with the driving in this car. So that leads me then to where I always say, if you are thinking of buying a car, go and drive it for yourself and see how it feels. See if you're impressed with how it feels, how the pedals feel, how the steering feels. A lot of the things that I would complain about are because I drive almost a different car every week. So now I'm going to be able to tell you the difference between one car and a different car quite easily, because sometimes I've driven them back to back. But those are not always things that matter to a consumer. They're not always things that matter to someone who's just looking for a daily driver. And I genuinely think that at some point we all agreed that Mercedes kind of went in the wrong direction. Particularly, I think the W205. I think it was somewhere in the wrong direction, and then they were able to steer themselves and go back onto the track that we know Mercedes stays on. And this is an example of that. I've spoken about the interior. There are obviously things that I don't like, but one thing about this car is that it has personality. A Mercedes has personality. It has this quiet confidence that you don't get in a lot of cars. It has this quiet confidence that says you're not going to regret your purchase. Now, if I'm sitting in this car, I'm looking at about over R1 million, because you practically paid maybe 120 grand in options. So this here is the AMG line, like we discussed. This is the AMG line package, and you're going to get a few extras that make the car feel and look more premium. There's nothing that happens under the hood when you have an AMG line. It's just a cosmetics package, but I do think it actually makes all the difference. Now, sitting in this seat here in the C200, I can tell that I'm sitting in a subcompact sedan. One of the first videos that actually reminds me of one of the first car, it was literally the second car trivia video I ever made, where I was talking about Mercedes nomenclature, or the naming convention of Mercedes models. And the A class is your hatchbacks and compact sedans, and then C class here is like subcompact sedans. And I can feel that this is kind of subcompact because it's not as roomy. That's one thing though, that like it's not as roomy inside as it looks outside, because it's a pretty sizable sedan. It's not tiny. It's definitely not A-class size of sedan. It's bigger than an A-class, of course. So I can feel that it is a bit more compact. And so I think it will work if you're using it as like a family car for a small family, because you can sit comfortably in the back. Of course, you can put your car seats and whatnot, but that compactness, I can particularly feel it in the cabin here in the front. So even myself, being relatively small, I actually can feel that there is very limited space here. So obviously it's limited space in every car, but it's not roomy, is what I'm trying to say. Which I'm not mad about, because you know what you're getting yourself into if you buy a C class. It's not an E class. If you want a bigger sedan, go for an E class. If you want the biggest sedan, go for an S class. Although now that I've mentioned the S-Class, I feel like an S-Class is a car that you buy to be driven in. It's an S-Class, a 7 Series, an A8. You know, when OEMs build cars, they're building them for a particular purpose. They've got a customer in mind already. In this C-Class, I can see myself in here. I can see myself buying this car. I would actually just go for the CLE, because I'm a single woman in my 20s. I don't have kids, I don't have pets, so I'm happy to have a coupe. I'd actually buy the cabriolet, and that's the reason why I'd go for the CLE. And I'm also just in love with it. I think it's so special. That car suits me. But I can still see myself in a C class, because it's still a sedan. It's got those sporty dynamics a little bit, and it's a good size. I wouldn't buy an E class though, right? E class is now, I think you're looking at your directors, or, well, in this economy, yeah, directors. I would say mid-management, but you're in whose economy, guys? In whose economy? It looks like it's gonna rain. I hope not. But an S-Class though, now you're looking at those CEOs who don't have the time to be driving. They need to be doing stuff on their computers and whatnot. Like, it's a car that's made to be enjoyed most by someone who's being chauffeur driven. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. So in this class, the kind of customer I see in here is like you know, a corporate girly, corporate boy. Your chartered accountants could be in a C class. They could be in a C63. One of my doctors drives a C63. He's a specialist doctor, and you know, it suits him. So I can see the people who would be in this car. The fuel consumption, the fuel economy in this car is brilliant. So just to run up the numbers again, you've got a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine here. It gives you 150 kilowatts and 300 newton meters. It's also got a 48 volt mild hybrid system that gives you that EQ boost. And that's, you know, that's where they've got it. I think that's where they've got it, because you know what it does. Number one, it gives you more torque off the line. So it basically gets rid of that turbo lag. Number two, when you're coasting, sometimes when you're coasting, the engine actually shuts off and it just works on that little electric boost. So power of Eskom right there in your Mercedes.
I would be so remiss if I didn't give this gearbox its own moment in the spotlight. So this C200 uses Mercedes-Benz's 9G-tronic transmission, and it's not just a 9-speed automatic. The tuning is what makes it special. First thing is the smoothness. You almost never feel the shifts, and that's intentional. Mercedes calibrates this gearbox to prioritize refinement over aggression. So instead of snapping into the next gear like a dual clutch, it glides. That's why the car feels expensive, even when you're just driving to Woolies. The second thing is it keeps revs low. 9 gears means very tight spacing between ratios, so the gearbox can always find the perfect gear without over-revving the engine. At highway speeds, you're cruising at surprisingly low RPM, which improves fuel consumption and reduces noise. The third thing is it thinks ahead. The gearbox works with the navigation and drive modes. So in comfort, it upshifts early and keeps things relaxed. In sport, it holds gears for longer and responds quicker. It adapts to your throttle inputs too. If you're driving gently, it becomes even smoother. If you're pushing, it sharpens up. The fourth thing is torque handling. This transmission is designed to handle a wide range of engines, from smaller 4 cylinders like the C200 all the way up to bigger 6 cylinders in other Mercedes models. That means in a C200 it's barely stressed, which translates to durability and consistency. And here's something subtle. It avoids unnecessary downshifts. Some gearboxes panic and drop 2 gears the second you breathe on the throttle. The 9G-tronic doesn't. It gives you torque first, then shifts if it actually needs to. That's why it feels calm instead of dramatic. Now, is it the sportiest gearbox out there? No. A dual clutch will feel sharper, but that's not the point. The point is, this gearbox makes the car feel effortless, smooth in traffic, quiet on the highway, efficient when cruising, and responsive when you ask for more. And honestly, that balance is harder to engineer than just making something aggressive.
Now, money matters. The C200 standard, after recent price cuts, is starting off at somewhere under 900,000 Rand. Now, once you've put all the options that you want on it, all the fancy bits and bobs, you're probably walking off with a car that is over R1 million. Now, I do think that for a subcompact sedan, that is rather stiff money, but I still think it's worth it to get that AMG line extras package. Because in this car, I only had a reverse camera, no 360-degree camera, that's for one, which kind of made it feel incomplete for a Mercedes. The good thing is that driving this car almost completely eradicates the need for like parking distance control. There's no blind spot monitoring either, and I hardly ever needed it because it's so nimble in the way that it moves. It's not clumsy, it's confident, it's planted. And so in driving the car, you will actually find yourself enjoying more the feeling of hardcore driving without these add-ons that we're now used to, rather than feeling like the car itself is incomplete. The only thing I would have wanted is a 360-degree camera, because it's nice to have that. But even without it, I don't feel like the car was missing any real flesh because I so enjoyed driving it. I genuinely do think that options package will make it feel like a better buy, particularly when it comes to the interior. Now, obviously, you know I have a thing against piano black, and I do think that for a luxury brand, there should actually be none of that in the car. And so if you don't like that either, then it is important for you to look at other options like the carbon fiber, which I also think looks really good. As a car enthusiast, we all know what carbon fiber stands for, and it stands for motorsport. And speaking of smart financial decisions, make sure to click the link in my description to get a quote for quick, affordable, and easy to understand insurance from Naked. And as for me, Phoebe from Piston Me Off, I say thank you for watching. Mwah, love you. Bye.